Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Immigration Unpacked. I'm Hickman, a solicitor in the immigration team at Bindmans, and with me is my colleague Elisabeth Attwood. This is the second in a two-part episode about developments to the EU settlement scheme involving automatic extensions and curtailment. So in our last episode, we talked about the introduction of automatic curtailment, and this means situations where the Home Office starts independently looking at cancelling someone's pre-settled status, even though they've not received any contact from the individual themselves. So, Elisabeth, although it's called automatic, it doesn't mean a computer just processes it and instantly cancels someone's status. Can you tell us what actually happens in these situations where they're calling it automatic curtailment?
Okay, so the first thing is it's not automatic because it doesn't apply to various categories of people. Okay, so really looking at EU nationals who were granted pre-settled status on the basis of their residence here. It doesn't apply to sponsored family members. It doesn't apply to people under the age of 18, and it doesn't apply to people who've got retained rights. In addition, if you've been granted another status at the same time, your pre-settled status won't be eligible for automatic curtailment.
And when they say automatic, it's not like a computer looks at your absences and is like, okay, too many absences, bam, gone. What actually happens? They send an email. How much time
So,
do people have? What's the process?
so what will happen is the Home Office will start looking at the records of people who have had significant absences, and they will send an email saying that they think that people don't either meet the withdrawal agreements requirements, i.e., they've had a previous period of 5 years continuous residence in the UK and have been out for a long time, or they'll look at the 30 months in 60 months requirement, which we discussed
Yeah, I
last
remember
time.
that. Yeah.
Okay. So when they've looked at that, if they think you've been out for a long time, they will send an email and they'll say, there are gaps in your records and we're looking at this. And can you let us have any evidence that you've got that you have, in fact, been in the UK?
Okay. So it's not, we're using this terminology automatic, but what it means is that they're taking independent action to do something with your status.
Exactly.
And they will invite you to feed into decision making. So
Exactly.
when people receive one of these emails, and actually last episode, it was 2 weeks ago, you also said it's not only emails, you said they also put a flag on their e-visa status. So
They should do that.
yeah, they should do that. So if people get one of these emails or see this flag, what should they do?
So what they should do is send details. If they've been told that the Home Office thinks they've been out of the UK for too long and they haven't, it's just a question of sending evidence that they've been here. And
Okay.
the Home Office may ask for the type of evidence that they will accept. But, like with the original pre-settled status application, I would suggest you send, I don't know, you can, whatever you've got, council tax records or employment records, travel information, anything you've got to show that you've been here.
Right. And how long do people have usually to respond to these emails? Do we know?
It's 28 days,
28 days.
but
And
if
if
you
I
ask
get,
for an extension, you
you can
will be
ask for an
given one.
extension. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I've got one of these emails, I'm panicking, or I might need a bit more time, rather than just sending them what I've got and hoping for the best, I should contact them and say, this is the situation. I need an extra, I don't know, 28 days. And this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's right.
okay, so once people have sent in this evidence, what are the possible outcomes once this has been sent off to the Home Office?
Okay, so what the Home Office will then do is, so you've sent your evidence. If you've been out for too long, the Home Office will then look at whether or not it would be proportionate to curtail a person's leave. And what they mean by that is they will look at the circumstances surrounding the absences, firstly.
Yeah,
So if you say, oh, I had to be out for this long because I was unwell, or I had a family member who was unwell, or I don't know, any other sort of important reason for being out of the UK,
yeah,
they'll look at that first. And
yeah.
if they think those circumstances justify the long absence, then they will keep your extended pre-settled status in place to allow you to build up a continuous qualifying period.
Okay.
If they're not happy with the reasons that you've given for the absence, they will then look at whether or not there will be important factors which will impact you if you're required to leave. So that's the second stage of the proportionality test. So if
Okay.
they say, okay, there aren't good reasons for you having been out, but we can see you're living here, you've got a job here, your family are all here.
Yeah.
I don't know, there are other really important factors which would mean it would be disproportionate for your leave to be curtailed. They may then keep your extended period in place on that basis and again allow you to build up to your 5 years.
So I don't want to kind of put you off your train, but I'm about to do anyway. So just to be clear, even if you've gone over the permitted absences
Yeah,
before cancelling, so even if you've gone over the permitted absences, in addition to showing the time that you have been here, if you've had any excessive absences, you also need to be explaining why you've had these absences.
yeah,
And in addition to that, you also need to be putting forward a picture of your life here. So, because it's not just going to be automatic. So the Home Office is going to, or the Home Office, the
yes.
caseworkers are going to actually think about this. So they're going to
So,
decide,
so,
yeah, go on.
so really, the extension process is automatic,
Yeah,
and the grant of settled status for EU nationals who've been here can be automatic,
right.
but the curtailment process isn't a sort of push button exercise.
Yeah.
It's a thought through process.
Okay. And so that's actually really reassuring. So someone's who's had those absences, but has, as you say, got, I don't know, a partner here, a job here, maybe owns a house, has children, there may still be room for the Home Office to allow them to extend rather than cancelling. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
And we don't know yet, because this is such a new process, how
Okay.
generous that
Right.
consideration will be.
Okay.
But that is part of the decision-making process, and it would be an important part, particularly when we get to the next stage, which
Right.
we're about to discuss, which is if a
Right.
curtailment notice is served and they say your leave has been curtailed and it goes to appeal, then all these factors become even more important to explain.
So we're at the stage where they're looking at it. They might decide, oh, you haven't had, your absences are fine. We're not worried. We're not going to curtail. That's one outcome. Another outcome is they look and they're like, yeah, you've definitely gone over, but there's a really good reason for you having gone over. So we're going to allow you to extend or continue. The third
Yeah,
possibility is, yes, you've gone over. The reason wasn't that persuasive, but your life is so established here, we're going to allow it anyway. And the
yeah,
fourth is they consider all of that and they're like, yeah, we're not having it, we're going to cancel.
yeah.
So, and then what happens if they decide to cancel? What happens in that situation?
Okay, so there are again two separate things. So there's
Okay.
cancellation and there's curtailment. They do have slightly different outcomes. So if you're outside of the UK when this happens,
Yeah.
your leave is cancelled.
Okay.
Okay, and you will be given an opportunity to appeal. You'll have 28 days to appeal if you're out of country, and you'll be allowed to come back into the UK to pursue your appeal.
Okay.
But you won't have pre-settled status after the
Right.
cancellation. It will be reinstated if your appeal is successful
So if you're going to come back in for an appeal, you've got to come back in on some other
as a
basis as a
visitor.
visitor. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. If you're in country
Yeah.
in the UK, your leave will be curtailed. You'll
Okay.
have 14 days to submit an appeal. During that period, you will still have pre-settled status,
Right.
and then you'll go through the appeals process, which will be to the first tier tribunal. And that means, and in both cases, in fact, it'll be to the first tier tribunal. And that means that a judge will look at all the circumstances in the round and decide whether or not the Home Office was right or wrong to make the decision they've made.
So just to recap, when you said you'll still have pre-settled status, provided you've lodged your appeal in time, you've submitted your appeal on time, your pre-settled status will be extended right up until the decision. So that means people will be able to carry on working, going about their life.
And then they'll be able to leave and come back, and
Will they be able to leave and come back? They will.
yeah, because there are specific rules for EU nationals who are appealing, and leaving the country doesn't abandon your appeal.
Okay, that's really key. So just to repeat that, because with most appeals, if you leave while your appeal's being decided or being considered, or you're waiting to go to a hearing, if you leave the UK, that's it. Your appeal is brought to an end. But that's not the case with these kind of appeals under the settlement scheme.
No, there's a specific statute or statutory instrument which deals with appeals by EU nationals.
Did not know that. And I've got another EU specific question for you, Elisabeth, who is the font of all things EU related in our team. Do you know whether appeals made under the settlement scheme are being considered any more quickly than appeals? They're not. Okay.
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, I don't know, but in my experience, they're not going any faster than anything else. One important thing,
by the way, is in lately my experience is a year and a half to 2 years.
Incredibly slow.
Cases,
yeah.
Right, that people are waiting. Yeah. Sorry, go on. What were you going to say?
The other thing you need to know is that what I said at the beginning was that family members won't be impacted by this process. If you're an EU national and you've sponsored your family members here, and a curtailment decision is made in respect of you, and that will also extend to your family members, because they will no longer, because their rights are contingent on yours.
Right. So if they were an independent family member, so yes, so they might have, so yes, I think I understand. So so you said at the beginning that EU family members aren't affected by automatic curtailment, as in they won't go through this process as individuals, but if their sponsor, the main EU family member, this could affect them, then it will affect the family member.
Yeah, then it sort of kicks in at that stage.
Okay.
So what they won't be doing is, I don't know, looking at your spouse and saying, oh, we're not sure you're still married or still living together, and we're going to curtail you on that basis.
Okay.
Independently. Yeah. It's not just absence, it's obviously continuing to meet the requirements of the rules, which is relevant to your pre-settled status. So they're not looking at those other things at this stage. They're looking purely at residence, and they're not doing that for these
family members.
People who are, what's the word, sponsored. That's the word.
Okay. Is there anything else that, if you haven't yet received one of these notices, is there anything else that people need to be kind of aware of or thinking about, if you think you might be one of these people affected by this new process? Any tips?
As always, I think, Carl, we might have mentioned this once or twice.
I don't know why you would say that, Elisabeth. I can't imagine you would have said before what I'm pretty sure you're about to say.
Keep your records.
Yes.
Keep the Home Office updated. Make sure that, you know, obviously, if you get one of these notices and you're saying, I've been out of the UK because I had a work placement or because a family member was really unwell, make sure that you're able to show that. It's no good just saying it.
Yeah.
You need to be able to prove it.
Yes. Yeah. So keep the Home Office up to date with your email address and your contact details. If you do need to be outside for any lengthy periods, make sure you keep evidence of why that was. Things like, I guess, flight tickets, that kind of thing, because as you've said before, I think that the Home Office records aren't always reliable, and just general proof of being here.
Sorry, there is another thing to think about. Yeah. So there may be cases where the Home Office doesn't know whether you're in the UK or outside the UK. Oh, so when they send one of these notices, they may say your pre-settled status is cancelled. And as we've just discussed, the impact of that is that you won't have pre-settled status while your appeal is pending. So you need to make sure that you can say to the Home Office, no, you've got this wrong. You should have curtailed my leave because I'm here.
And that's a massive difference, because curtailment will allow you to carry on living here and working here, but cancellation won't.
Yeah. And I mean, if the Home Office aren't sure, they should send a curtailment notice,
Yeah,
but they make mistakes.
they do make mistakes. Okay, I think that's it more or less covered. Elizabeth, was there anything else that you thought we might want to say on this topic, or do you think that's it for now? I mean, this is all quite new, isn't it? We don't really know how
It's
this is
all
all going to
quite
play
new. We
out.
don't know how they're going to deal with it. It's not going to be, it feels to me it's not going to be straightforward. But let's see when we've got a couple of decisions from the tribunal as to how they're dealing with it and a bit more information about how the Home Office are dealing with it in practice.
Okay, right, that's really helpful. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you in a few more weeks with the next edition of Immigration Unpacked. Thank you.
Bye.